Thank you for joining us. This is Story Time with twisted slivers from the paranormal, the unreal, the real, fictional, and maybe just a sprinkle of truth.
The empty chair. Every morning, just as the sun filtered through her lace curtains, Claire would set out 2 coffee cups on the table, one for herself and one for Mrs. Holloway. It had become a comforting ritual. The elderly woman with her silver hair always neatly pinned back would shuffle into Claire's kitchen right at 8 a.m., greeting her with a warm smile and a soft pat on the shoulder. Claire loved their mornings together. The air filled with a rich aroma of fresh brewed coffee and the gentle hum of conversation. Mrs. Holloway was a fountain of wisdom, teaching her to crochet delicate patterns and offering gentle guidance on everything, from cooking to navigating life's uncertainties. Claire had lost her mother very young, and in many ways, Mrs. Holloway filled that void, a patient mentor, a kindred spirit, and a cherished friend. "I used to have a kitchen like yours," Mrs. Holloway would often say, trailing her fingers along the marble countertop. "Bright and full of life." They laughed often together. Mrs. Holloway adored Claire's cat, Binks, and he in turn would curl up in the old woman's lap, purring as she scratched behind his ears. It was a simple happiness and a warmth that Claire had come to cherish. One afternoon, Claire's friend Lauren stopped by unexpectedly, carrying a book she had borrowed many weeks ago. She lingered near the kitchen, looking puzzled. Hey, who's that second cup for?" Lauren asked, nodding towards the steamy mug across from Claire. Claire smiled. "Oh, that's Mrs. Holloway. She comes by every morning." Lauren's face paled. "Claire? The house next door? The Holloway house has been empty for years. Mrs. Holloway passed away." The words didn't make sense. Claire let out a small, breathless laugh. "No, she was just here this morning." Lauren's expression was unreadable. I think you should come see for yourself." Unease crept into Claire's spine as she followed Lauren next door. The house sat eerily in the stillness. Its once pristine garden was now overgrown with weeds. The windows were clouded with dust, and the porch coated in a layer of undisturbed dirt. No footprints, no signs of life. Heart-pounding, Claire swallowed hard and turned back towards her own home. No, this is ridiculous. Mrs. Holloway was real. She'd been there every morning sitting with Claire. The warmth of her presence, the scent of her lavender perfume, the soft motherly tone of her voice. No, it was all real. Lauren gave her a quick hug and said, "Gee, you need a nap. That'll make it all better. Works every time for me. Sorry, I'm busy. I gotta run." Once Lauren left, Claire walked back into the house, back into her kitchen. Claire's eyes darted to the table. The second cup of coffee sat untouched, a thin layer of steam curling into the air. And there, draped across the back of the chair, was the delicate red shawl Mrs. Holloway always wore. Claire's breath hitched. The room felt impossibly still, the air thick for something unseen. She reached out, hesitantly, fingers grazing the fabric. Yep, it was solid, it was tangible, it was real. But when she picked it up, the air around her seemed to shift and crackle, like it was charged with electricity. The temperature suddenly began to drop, but just slightly. And then from the corner of the room, Binks let out a soft, rumbling purr, his green eyes fixed on the empty chair. He meowed sweetly. Claire didn't move. She didn't dare. She didn't breathe, because suddenly the chair wasn't empty at all.